Hey, I'm George from MovieWeb. How are you today, Robert?
Hi, George. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
Likewise. I'm good. I'm excited to be here and to chat about this. One of the things that jumps to mind when I watch this is this idea of style makes fights. Because I keep thinking that the look of each thing, and especially yours, is so engrossing and defining and unique that the story almost feels like it grows out of that a little bit. And I'd like to hear you talk about crafting the look and where these unique approaches design wise kind of come from, and if that comes before the story or if the story comes and then you're like, what's the right style to fit this?
This particular short was very much the look of it was came from a Brazilian film called City of God. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
And so I was looking at that, and I love the way that director dealt with multiple characters and how they interacted with their environment. And it was kind of a very sort of garage kind of approach to filmmaking, which I wanted to take all those lessons and the palette, that nice warm palette,
Mm.
with those luscious colors, and the characters all have these beautiful reflected lights and everything like this. And I kept referring to that movie over and over again. And, the animation's going to take on its own shape, but that was the target that we were shooting for.
I mean that I love that movie. When I saw the movie in the theater years ago, I remember being utterly blown away by it.
Yeah, me too.
When you saw it long ago, has it been
Yeah.
sitting in your brain ever since that you're like, I wouldn't have made the connection. I'm so glad you did. It's such a fun topic now. But
Yeah.
was it sitting there in your brain and you were just like, one day I'm doing something with how I'm inspired by this? Or when this came along, where you like, can you talk about where it like lived with you all this time? Because that was a while
No.
ago.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I read the story and, two things popped out of my head, the Warriors
Yeah.
and and I don't know, maybe I saw the movie recently and I just kept thinking, man, I'd like to try something like that. And I even one of the characters is based um on the movie.
Yeah.
I'll let you figure it out. But yeah, and I just thought, man, I want to go the opposite direction. I want to go towards more kind of an edgy, garagey kind of style with kind of real weird camera movement, and it's just very jarring. And you know, like I said, those were the ingredients in the cocktail that we were making there.
I love the color palette and the lines. Like the colors are very warm, like you said.
Yeah,
Um, the lines are sharp. There's something like dangerous feeling about all the angles in the world.
yeah,
Can you tell me a little bit about how the Warriors comes to mind when you're watching it too, for sure,
yeah,
for obvious like plot reasons. But
yeah,
how did you think about it and kind of like, we don't know, this is a great example of like, you don't need exposition. Like it's just, we just get it pretty fast, like what's going on here. Like
yeah,
there's factions and stuff like that. Can you
yeah.
talk a little bit about the Warriors filtering into you?
Yeah, I mean the story once you read it had flavors of the Warriors, the roller skating scene. I don't know if the actual story when it was written predates the Warriors. I have no idea, but it was obvious to me. And as I started to get into it, Jennifer Ewan Nelson actually confessed to me that Tim was a real Warriors fan, that
Ah,
movie as well. And so I felt like that was a very safe and I felt confident about going off in that direction. And I really liked in the Warriors, you don't really notice that the ensemble is like a racial diverse cast of characters. You don't think about it, you
mm,
know? There's no political correctness or no real like desire to sort of represent everybody, equally. And I sort of thought, I want to try doing something like that where, it feels natural that they're just a collection of different people. And that's really what I wanted to sort of accomplish.
yeah, equal footing in their struggle and just representation, but it's not intentional in some way. It just
No, I
happens.
didn't want it to seem like anybody,
Yeah.
like it wasn't anything that you should think about too much. It's just a natural thing.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear you talk about in your career collaborating with Robert Rodriguez multiple times, what that's like and kind of like on his projects and what you've taken from that or what his talk about like kind of garage filmmaking or in some way,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
being a
yeah,
godfather of that style,
yeah, yeah. Well, I've never worked with Robert Rodriguez, or collaborated with him,
Oh, I
but
thought you storyboard artist on some of his projects. Am I wrong about
oh,
that?
like what? What do you think?
Maybe I was wrong when I looked at your resume. My mistake.
Yeah.
I thought you had. Does he have any influence on your work? Maybe he jumped out into my mind watching it as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of filmmakers that sort of make their way in, but nothing specifically that I can think of.
Who in the live action world do you kind of think of? I mean, we've talked about a couple influences, but do you have a couple of live action influencers or
Yeah,
people who really filter into what you do or what you're trying to do?
yeah. I mean, Sergio Leone. I think we were heavily referencing some sequences from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Here, the way I know there's a sequence where Clint Eastwood and Tuco,
Yes.
they have a sort of gunfight in this blown out city, and the atmospheric effect and the way that they're cautiously going through, I thought was kind of perfect. And
Yeah,
yeah, and Guy
totally.
Ritchie, yeah, too. I mean, not in a way that you would notice on this particular film, but generally speaking, I think Guy Ritchie is somebody that I keep looking at, going, man, I love that stuff so much. You know.
Yeah, can see both of them in your work. I have to wrap, but thank you so much for taking the time, and I really enjoyed it. Great
Okay,
job.
thanks for the
Thank
questions. I
you.
appreciate it.